But round number 3 is about to begin. As we said, Teemo versus MF. Let's join our players. They're none other than Prismaticism. As you guys know them as Prismat, these guys have done so much good in previous tournaments. And a player we haven't seen too often before. I think he goes by the name of Stinkalink.
Very silly name, but yeah, immediately you see a card MF traditionally does not play. Pit Rookie.
Yeah, very true. Pit Rookie and MF, we've never ever seen that before. At least my side of things, we've never seen that. Teemo so far, and make that a double Pit Rookie. So adding a buff onto the first Pit Rookie, and let's see what battlefield he decides to send it into.
Yeah, so as you can kind of see immediately, very much more an aggressive MF than what you'd traditionally see with like Auroras and Dead Blooms and such. The Pit Rookie, if you're unaware, when it is played, it does buff an enemy or a allied unit. So that is a 3 might, 5 might total on the MF board, just up against that single Yordle.
Yeah, so Yordle most likely thinking about going into the Candlelit Sectum. He does have 5 rooms to work with. He might have things like Sprite Mother to trade evenly 3-3 for the Pit Rookie if he chooses to do so. Because if you're able to hold, if Prismat's able to hold, but who needs to conquer attack when you have spells like Gust? Go ahead and bounce back a 3 might or less unit back to the owner's hand. Not the worst card to put back in hand if you're Prismat though, right? Because a Pit Rookie gets value when it's played.
It does hurt a little bit as MF here, as you do want. Oh, and we got the counter gust.
Right, you Gus, I Gus.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not one I really would like to bounce too much, with the Lecturing Yordle giving a lot of value in that now it has become a draw 2, right? Instead of just that draw 1. But you got to play for the tempo. Teemo has been seen with the more recent purple Teemo list. It's a lot more top end, so you're kind of okay with going to the late game and not having to really push for the early battlefield so that you can get your hidden set up. You're like, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna drop the Watcher later in the game.
Yeah, we've seen even crazier top ends from Teemo. I'm not too sure if he's running it today. We'll be finding out. Things like Mind Splitter, of course, those infamous Dr. Mundos as well, could be coming out a little later on. But so far, so good, keeping things ready with that Ember Monk. So get so much value from hidden. And whoa, so many cards we're not used to seeing from a Misfortune deck. The cookie cutter version is the Dazzling Aurora, but a Seal followed up by a Set Brawler. Things are spicing up for MF side.
100%. I mean, the Set Brawler is quite a powerful card. Does let you swing in pretty big, pretty early with the ability in that if you are unaware, it's spend the buff, get +4. And so the +4 is for the end of the turn. So if you do have ways to re-ready and remove that set, which, spoiler alert, Chaos generally does, you can then go ahead and have a very, very big set swinging in. Very similar to the Vi Ride the Wind combo, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think so as well. Ends up playing the Yordle, getting double the value if that was the same Yordle as you mentioned before. So gets 2 draw for that same card. Sends the Ember Monk. This is kind of scary, but you know Misfortune doesn't tend to have single one energy cost, with the exception being something like Gust, but does get that Candlelit Sanctum ability off, sees the top 2, decides to recycle 1 and keep the other on the top of the deck. So liking what he sees, wants to pick it up if he has something else like a Yordle. Maybe should have tried to conquer first and then play the Yordle to draw that, but I guess it wouldn't make sense since he already drew, so it would have been 2 different set of cards.
Yeah, definitely want your Ember Monk on the battlefield, though it does choose to not play a hidden unit there. Ember Monk does have the ability when you play a card from hidden, it does get +2 might, though opts to not go ahead and use that. I will say a lot of these Teemo lists that are playing more top end have cut down pretty heavily on the hidden spells, hidden units, all this jazz, and are pretty much just playing like a blue-purple deck that has hidden cards in it rather than a hidden deck.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They even let go of cards like Nocturne recently, right? That used to be like in every Teemo deck just to try to that one, and the Teemo champion that gets the value from seeing the hidden cards off the top 5 cards. But I think since they nerfed him down a little bit, he's kind of gone to the wayside.
Yeah, which makes a lot more sense as the Teemo Scout is going to give guaranteed value. By playing using the Teemo Champion, the Teemo Legend, you're guaranteed to essentially get 4 might for 1 energy, right? Whereas before, I'm filling on the name of the blue Teemo, but the blue Teemo is a lot more RNG heavy, right? You have to hit the hidden units off the top, and it forces you the deck build in a certain way, in that you have enough hidden units in your deck that you're actually going to be actively hitting them.
Yeah.
But passing back over the Prismaticism, interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting what's going to happen here.
the further turns he goes, the more I'm intrigued. I'm trying to see what kind of units does he have in this deck. As we said before, the Set Brawler already on the board has the 1 buff, so able to go up to 8 might if he wants to spend that buff. Should be enough for Ember Monk, but if that's that sneaky Teemo, goes up to 4, Ember Monk goes up to 6, so 10 total potential might to try to defend the Candlelit. So it has to be very mindful of that as well. I might be going the safe route, going into Star Tip Valley, but of course it depends on those final 4 cards Prismat has in hand. What can they be? I mean, at this point, I'm almost even expecting like a Snapvine Predator or something insane coming out from this MF.
Yeah, I will say this is a little bit of a spooky play for Teemo, unless that is specifically a Consult the Past, as not really leaving much up in ways of runes, only 2 runes. And the Chaos color does have, like, it has the Fight or Flight or the Rebuke, or a lot of ways to remove the units from the battlefields. Even if it's just temporarily, you do lose that hidden value. So I'm probably saying that's a Consult the Past, as it still does give the combat value because the Ember Monk does get the +2, but at the same time, if there is a Fight or Flight or a Rebuke, you still do get the draw, right? You're not just losing your hidden card.
Yeah, we will see. Consult the Past wouldn't be too bad. It's never a bad idea to draw 2, no matter whose turn it is. You get so much value going forward. So I think Prismat's just trying to weigh out his options. He says, do I want to try to take the Candlelit, expecting something like Consult the Past, because that would just bring the Ember Monk up to 6. But perhaps with those 2 runes, as you said, something like Rebuke could come down, keeping it protected. And let's see what the hidden card is. It will be Consult the Past indeed. So +2 on the Ember Monk, and then +2 to the hand.
Yeah, looks like Prismat making the same read I did. Not really in a spot where you want... You don't want to put things up the chance and just go down a card, right? So in that case, the Consult the Past makes the most sense there. It deals with most units besides, again, like the buffed set. But in this case, you're still getting the buff set out of the base and onto a battlefield where it's a little bit easier to get rid of. Then the MF, the Chaos Color doesn't have like an incredible amount of save. You have, again, like you have the Fight or Flight, you have the Rebuke, and then you have the Ride the Wind if Prismet is playing it. We have not seen it yet, but I guess the MF Champion, the MF Legend, does give ganking to the set.
Which is big. We've seen even some sets themselves run things like Hillock. That way you get the ganking from the battlefield. So MF able to give every single unit at your battlefield that exact ability. So you love to see it, and see how MF capitalizes on that going forward. Just plays out a Kiana, leaves 3 open. I'm just not always used to seeing having runes available on your opponent's turn from an MF. I'm used to seeing end turn, Dazzling Aurora proc. That's usually what we've seen time and time again. So this is so interesting. At least in our game 1, we're kind of in the dark so far. I'm assuming Teemo's super in the dark. He has no idea what Prismat could have in hand. Just 3 though, so not too many options, but so far so good for Prismat. He's up in points.
Yeah, up in points, Teemo does have was it 8 cards in hand and up to 8 runes here. This is where we might start seeing some of the scary stuff happen with that top end we mentioned before. They're, like you said before, like they're the Mundos, which, I mean, that card's pretty tough to deal with if you don't have really great removal. I will say Chaos is fairly good at dealing with it, right? You can just keep pushing it back over and over and saying, hey, it doesn't matter if you're 20 might, you're just never going to get a combat.
Yeah. And perhaps that's what he's thinking about now. Is not a 20 might, but just a 2 might Yordle. Think about perhaps a Flight or Flight or a second Gust, as we saw earlier in this game. Thinking about not letting him get that conquer point. Teemo's at just 1, so you can afford letting him get 1 point, but every little point counts in these games. So Prismat trying to think of a response, and it will be the Gust. So back to Yordle. Ooh. Not the best one to put back because he already has plenty card advantage. You're just giving him 1 more card to potentially build on that lead. Unless he had a play already in mind.
At this point, that Yordle is going to have drawn him 3 cards, which is just absurd. But I think you're fine with that as Prismat. You're just saying, I'm going to win the game before you can even play all these cards. Especially when they're playing such a top end. Like, we can tell at this point that it is a top end heavy list by how few cards have been played so far. So you can just say, like, it doesn't matter if you have infinite. Ooh.
Oh, I thought it was something crazy because he recycled 3. I've never seen a recycle 3 for 6 cost, but it was because of the Kiana deflect cost. But that's huge. Singularity completely obliterating the board.
Yeah, he definitely. So finishing my thought is that I don't really think that Prismat cares that much how many cards that Teemo has, as if you are playing all these really high cost cards, you can only play 1 or 2 cards a turn anyway. And having 8 cards is the same as having 4 cards, right? Because all you have is like slightly more options.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, he tapped out on this turn, so he has to be knowing that he has no defenses up like the Gust we saw or Flight or Flight you mentioned. But MF only with 3 cards at her disposal, so can't do anything like a crazy Devlin Predator. Even if she had it, that's just what I'm used to seeing from these MF. What she does have, to the full knowledge, is the MF Champion, able to accelerate it for 6 total runes. So able to put up a point if she chooses to do so, but gets that Vision Poro, looks at the top one, decides to either recycle or put it back at the bottom of the deck. And she still has enough runes, it looks like, to do the accelerated. You play it, you give it accelerated, and then you could untap that Mystic Poro to try to conquer 2 points in this very turn. It doesn't seem like a bad play, but you don't have too much going on after that. So this is something Prismat is thinking about, which is why he's taking his time. He's saying, I'm kind of low on hand economy. How can I preserve this lead I have so far? I'm at 3 points. It takes me all the way to 8 to close out this game 1. He's a player that likes to think 1, 2, even 3 turns ahead to plan out those turns. He's a very experienced player, so that's kind of what he's calculating so far.
Yeah, the MF Captain, really powerful unit. But, like you said, you really have to be aware of how many resources you have. And being at Prismat is only at 3 points. That means he has to take... So this turn would put him up to 5, and then 7, and then actually have to hold. So that's a whole, like, 3 or 4 turns that you still have to survive. But it does look like he is potentially going for the play you said.
Yeah, so does ready the Poro. He still played the Seal, but had to recycle a body rune because of the additional cost. So goes up for the 2-point turn. Never a bad turn. You're up to 5, only 3 more points left. The only downside is you're defending with a single rune and only 2 cards in hand. So if Teemo has anything to get over at least 5 might, you can't keep it safe with something like Flight or Flight. You can't keep it safe with something like Ride the Wind. All your only available option is something like Gust, and that's only 3 might or less. So this is a little bit scary for Prismat. Let's see if one of these battlefields are held by him, because Teemo so many options in hand. I'm seeing 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 total cards. Plenty of runes to work with too. I mean, keeping it straightforward, perhaps something like a Watcher, would that be enough to get the job done? I believe so.
Yeah, a lot of options and all of them good ones at this point for Teemo. And infinite resources in hand as well, so you can kind of say, I don't care. I'm just going to throw cards down. And if you are going to stop me, you're just going to run out of resources, and I'm going to win through pure advantage as well. I really am worried here for Prismat. This is looking rough. Maybe he's got a plan.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I believe he's running out of steam. He put these points up rather quickly, went up to 5, but without the constant card draw that we're used to seeing from these top tier legends like Kai'Sa, like Ari, MF looks like when you're not getting the full immense value from something like Dazzling Aurora that plays units for free for you, you have to do all that heavy lifting with the units in your hand and with your runes in the base. So it is, I agree, it's looking a little tough, but let's see how he maneuvers the remaining of the game.
This is interesting. So the Teemo opted to directly play the Teemo from the champion zone with 3 runes up, which is a bit strange, right? Because generally so if anybody is unaware, the Teemo legend does let you bounce your Teemo champion unit to your hand, and then you can go ahead and it looks like I didn't see if he recycled the rune or if he actually paid the cost, but normally you would be able to bounce the champion unit to your hand and then go ahead and play a random hidden unit to the field. So they wouldn't know if it actually is the Teemo. But in this case, choosing to play it straight from the champion zone, right? With 3 runes up, which is kind of a weird number, right? Like usually the purple is in increments of 2, right? Because you have the fighter flights. You have like Ride the Wind. I guess it could be like Stupefies maybe. We haven't seen that. Don't know if he's playing it, but it is a blue card. I guess having 3 mana is kind of an interesting call to hold on to.
Yeah, it could be a 1-2 combo, something like a Flight or Flight with the Stupefy or a Gust potentially, or I mean, we'll end up finding out more likely than not this turn if he ends up using those runes, because he definitely has the cards available if he does want to use those 3 runes. Now does just deploy a Mystic Poro to try to defend that Stinkalink just that much more, adding up to 7 total might. MF already up to 6 with a hold when they threw it back, but MF going back, untapping the Poro. So interesting decision. Could have just played onto base, but just wants to do a little bit of roundabout. Kiana getting played out, and Pick Rookie, who are you buffing? I would probably buff the Kiana or the MF, but what do I know? It looks like he's going to be buffing the Poro, distributing out the might evenly amongst all its units.
Just passes back over. Well, setting up for a big push next turn. Only 1 card in hand, but going to go up to 12 runes. Funny for not a ramp MF.
Yeah, definitely made it all the way to 12 next turn. But the base is different. This is definitely a different MF, as we said before. There's no Dead Blooms. There's no Mind Splitters hitting off the top. So small, kind of mid-rangey MF. Let's see how Teemo tries to prepare, because that is going to be an onslaught of a turn on Prismatic's direct next turn. So goes for Yordle. Finally gets up to 4 points himself. Looks to be going at the Stinkalink Anthem trigger, seeing if he wants to leave anything at the top, and it looks like he's leaving 1. Yeah, he's leaving that 1 card at the top. So if he has something else like a Yordle or a stack deck, he's able to pick that 1 card up. And he's thinking about it. He's like, wait a second, let's just put both of them at the bottom.
Yeah, Prismat adds 6 points here, so Teemo does have to actually defend these battlefields. The game could just end.
And you love to see it. The Mega Mech, the best vanilla card, or one of the better vanilla cards you can play in Teemo. Now that's a good defensive card. And if that hitting card is something like a Teemo on top of that, or who knows, we've seen things like Tide Turn or Flight. This is going to be an interesting turn, to say the least. Let's see how Prismatic approaches it.
Yeah, this is actually winnable for Prismat. did think that they were in like a really bad spot, but Teemo just didn't build a board with all of those cards, with all those runes. So now we're just looking at a single Yordle that, I don't know, like what could be hidden there that matter? It's the Teemo. We know it's the Teemo. So it's what, 4? So 6 might on one. And then the other, I mean, assuming that there is, yep, there we go.
The bullet time. He's saying if there's any reactions, because I don't think you pay the cost before any reactions are played out. That's how you would do it if there was a Defy available to the opponent. Because I think you say, or I gotta look back exactly the ruling. I know you play it for 1, and then you see if there's any things like a retreat or anything. And then you decide what cost. If he's going to go all the way to recycle 8, that'll be massive because our bullet time reads play any amount of any color rune to deal that much damage to all enemy units at a battlefield. So if he recycles 8 units, that's going to be a consult the past though.
Oh my gosh. I think that could just be game.
Yeah. I think so too, especially if he goes all the way to 8, because as you said, the Yordle is pretty lonely at just maybe max 6 total might. There's way more than 6 total might on the current base. Oh, this is interesting. Convergent mutation gonna be adding equal might to the Yordle. So just in case this base dies, at the very minimum, you're defending for a max of 12 on the start to peak. So I like that play from Teemo.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 14 total might for Prismat here. So that should still go over.
I think so too. And if we're looking at Teemo's current runes, he is completely tapped out. So the math is rather straightforward. There's only so many outs that his hidden card can really be. So one little Poro goes or Pit Rookies goes into Candlelit, and then you send the whole rest of your units onto Star Tip, and you pretty much should have it. Because in an ideal world, that's just a 4 might unit being Teemo. So interesting decision goes Kiana. Yeah, that's kind of curious, right, NA?
Yeah, I guess this does make sense because you do have 14, is it 14? Wait, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, so 14. Okay, so I guess I kind of see it. So the reason being is if you shove everything up, then is he going to use the MF trigger? He did. Okay. Yeah, so what he's going to do here is he uses the MF trigger, and now he can move the Kiana over, and that's game. Yeah.
He just did it a little bit different way. But well done, the spicy MF, mid-range MF, getting the job done against Teemo.
Yeah, there are quite a few blue top end that I would like to see the Teemo play that really are going to make a big impact in this, and I don't know what their plan is, but there's stuff like the Watcher is very good with dealing with these wide boards from aggro decks. There's the Mundo, like you said, that's just too big to be outed by stuff like Bullet Time. There's even Time Warp, right? Where you can just cheat.
Yeah.
That card is so silly.
Yeah, to be fair, I think we have seen Teemos run like a single Time Warp, potentially even 2 Time Warps, because they are a blue deck. You might as well throw it in there if you have control of these battlefields. But let's see, already getting things started, having to play out the champion from the zone nice and early. You know, it doesn't make too much of a difference since you're able to retreat it back with that Teemo ability. But a sneaky deckhand, this is an aggro MF. You don't run a sneaky deckhand in any deck unless you're aggressive.
Yeah, and if you look at the battlefields, actually, it's MF with the Zon Warrens and the Teemo with the Bandle Tree, which is really interesting to me because, like we said before, this is like a very top-end Teemo that doesn't actually play that many hidden units, but still opting to choose the Bandle Tree.
Yeah, still trying to hide 2 characters when you can. Passes it back after deploying that Ember Monk on that Bandle Tree. Throws it back into MF's 5 rune turn. She could play out the champion if she chooses to do so. Kiana, we saw play it for 4 before. Leave 1 at the ready for something like a Gus if you so needed to try to keep that sneaky protected, but does get up to 2 for that hold. I feel like a Kiana pass wouldn't be the worst in this situation. Let's see what Prismat decides to do.
Yeah, I do like Kiana here. It does get over the gust, makes stuff like Stupefy and Fight or Flight, or these combat tricks that Chaos and Mind might have access to, a lot more difficult to justify, as you do have Deflect. Let's see what Prismat is thinking about here, though.
Yeah, he's thinking rather deeply as early as turn 2. He's just saying, do I want to just deploy out my champion, just like my opponent already has his champion on the board? Do I think there's going to be a singularity the next turn? Because that's Teemo's turn 6 runes. We saw a singularity come out in game 1. So I think that's what Prismat is being very cautious of. He's saying, I kind of want to play this out, but ooh, gets the MF ability, Primal Strength on the sneaky deckhand, going up to a whopping 9 might. That should be more than enough to take it down. That is some plays from Prismat, using MF to perfection.
Yeah, that's really cool. Primal Might isn't a card you see a ton, as it is more played in some of the Aurora ramp versions, but Prismat just using it as a I win the combat card. Very powerful.
Yeah, Sneaky Deckhand, known for just conquering and then kind of hitting the trash bin a little bit later, but making full use of this and eliminating quite the board because he neglected Teemo from recurring that Teemo champion, the Teemo scout there. So I'm loving the play so far from Prismat. Let's see how Teemo tries to pivot, because I know no one, including himself, was accounting for this Primal Strength ganking onto the Bando this previous turn.
Yeah, that was well played by him. It does take the board control, and then it does, like you said, permanently get rid of that Teemo. Or at least, most likely permanently. Technically, you can recycle it with Mundo and then draw into it, but unless he has seen his entire deck, which against Aggro MF, pretty unlikely.
Yeah, and look at that, MF being aggro indeed, going up to 5 from the hold, ganking from the MF ability, sends it back to Zon Warren. Now having to think about what to discard / draw. There we go, discards the Brawler, and now plays out the Brawler, which makes sense why he discards, since he already has one in base, or already has one in hand. Now the base, passes it back over, and MF is looking good, looking prime to keep that pace on to Teemo and potentially close things out, because 5 points already, just 3 more points to get this game number 2. Let's see if Teemo's able to slow her down, because she's going fast.
Yeah, this is really fast. The sneaky deckhand plus the ganking putting in an absolute ton of work here. I would be scared if I'm Teemo. Like, I have no board presence. Really? Oh, wow. Oh, this is cool. Okay. Gonna bounce the own sneaky deckhand so that on the next turn can just directly play it to the Bando tree.
Yeah, I like that, because we'll see. I don't know if Teemo has something like a Sprite Mother to try to get some accelerated value with Blue and Chaos. About the best I can see. I know there's things like Echo, but most players aren't really running Echo in their decks, so having to consider that, because that could be going up to 6 total points for MF. With the obvious sneaky deckhand that we just saw getting back put to hand with the Gus. Of course, there is Watcher, but using Watcher on a lonely Brawler in the base never feels good. So step 1 goes with hiding. Oh, he's double thinking it. He's like, wait a second. Never mind. Let me rethink my turn a little bit.
Yeah, this is not a spot I would want to be in as Teemo. We kind of saw from game 1 that at least the main deck really doesn't have much in the way of like aggressive accelerated options, like you said, like the Sprite Mother, which we didn't see. We didn't see a Watcher. I'm assuming he's playing them. It is a blue deck, but we did not see it.
Wow. It looks like Teemo doesn't have the answers, having a hard cast to consult the past, playing a stacked deck, leaving only 3 runes available. He's not going to be able to get too much accomplished this turn. Of course, he did get the Conquer from the Ember Monk, but now the Brawler should be more than enough. I know he has 1 hidden card because he almost hit a card earlier this turn. So Ember Monk can go up to 6, but knowing what Set can do, And we know there's Pit Rookies looming in the hand or potentially in the deck. So Pit Rookie could be around the corner. You buff up Set, go up to 8. Pit Rookie goes up to 9. You do it all over again, going up even further. So that's going to be a little bit too tall of a unit for Ember Monk. So MF still looking decently good if she does have those cards we mentioned in hand. And Teemo having to work with just those 3 runes remaining on the turn. What can they do with 3 left, or do they just want to pass it over, it looks like?
So we do know the hidden card was the Consult the Past, actually. He was thinking if he wanted to hide it or just play it. And yeah, this is looking really bad for Teemo. Because what we see on board does put MF up to... MF is at 5 points, am I correct?
Yeah, 5 points.
So yeah, so we should see MF probably go up to 7 this turn, as you can just play the sneaky deckhand onto the candle, or onto the excuse
Bandle.
me, I cannot. Yes, the Bandle Tree, and then push up a fat set onto the Zon Warrens. But I guess there could be a fight or flight, some sort of way to stop this set from conquering, because you do not want him to go up to 7 when your deck has so little accelerate, right?
Yeah, and keep in mind, he also has the MF champion available to him. He has that as a potential way of readying it and then getting the MF legend ability to gank back over. So you could send the set brawler. MF, I mean, it doesn't seem too ideal. I think I like the sneaky deckhand better. If you have something to keep it a bit protected, I mean, there's no hidden units, so the map should be rather straightforward. I think this is a telltale sign that Teemo has something defensive like a fight or flight to send the brawler back. So maybe you kind of bait it out. You go for the conquer, allow them to get fight or flight, and then you play MF, conquer the Bandle, ready the set, and then send it in one more time. That could be quite the optimal turn for Prismat if things play out that way.
Mm-hmm. There also is the body color does have First Mate, very powerful, aggressive card that allows him to move. Oh, okay, choosing to go on to Bandle. I see. Okay, this gives the buff back, like you said, and then potentially again a First Mate or the MF champion unit to. Okay.
Yeah, he's hovering over it, so potentially could be the MF champ just there. I guess you could send it into the zone if you choose to do so, but if you want to be a bit safer, since you have so much might, keep in mind Set just conquered, so he should have been able to get one more buff. I hope Prismat remembered that, because he conquered the Bandle Tree. When you conquer, you're able to get one more buff again. That's what makes Set Brawler so good. When I'm played and when I conquer, buff me.
Yeah, in the actual set deck where you have access to, I believe it's Showstopper is what is the set signature spell called?
Yeah,
do you know?
it is Showstopper.
Yeah. Showstopper, you can end up buffing this set unit like 2 or 3 times in a turn, and he gets absolutely huge.
Right.
Being able to continuously remove that buff to make himself bigger. But a lot of thinking here. I mean, there is the route where you just say, I don't need to take both battlefields. I am on 6. I can just hold and conquer. That is an option as well. Going up to 7 just does force Teemo to play aggressively and find some form of accelerate or like a singularity or something, which, at least from what we saw in game 1, seems to be somewhat lacking in the Teemo deck.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he did have at least that singularity, like you said, but doesn't have the most removal. You're definitely right. So let's see. I mean, he's thinking carefully. He's saying, did I miss my window? Perhaps there's a judge call going on. I'll look at the feature match chat to see if they're disputing something. Because maybe Prismat's saying, wait a second, I forgot my point on Set. Did I miss my window? I mean, technically nothing has happened. It depends on your opponent, but you should have got the point when you conquered. This is a weekly. There's nothing crazy up for grabs like a cash tournament we've done in the past. So I would imagine his opponent allows him to, because it makes a difference. Okay, he's letting him have it. So he does go up. He does get the buff. And now he's probably going to go ahead and go out with the play he was thinking about before. Either a first mate, ready the brawler, or the MF ready the brawler, and then gank over, or just try to see what the Teemo player has with the MF going directly into the Zond Warrens. Both plays aren't too bad. I think at the end of the day, it's going to result very similarly. MF going to be ending her turn with 7 total points to Teemo's 2 total points. Things are just getting really wide margins so far, and it is the first mate, step 1 for MF.
Yep, and then there's ganking. Move it over. Does put Teemo in a really tough position. You probably have, if you have it in the tank though, thinking about it.
Yeah, he's saying, do I have the fight or flight? I would imagine so. You left 3 runes available for this exact moment, and it will be the fight or flight. Sends this set back where it came from, or rather just the base. That was a lot of big might he kind of dodged there for the Ember Monk. And now you don't have the MF, but Fading Memories. Wait a second. Give a unit at the battlefield gear temporary, usually known for an Aurora tech card. Giving the Ember Monk temporary, I like that, because now temporary units are actually removed before you score a point, before that hold point comes online for holding. So, okay, keeping the Teemo at 2 is what Prismat had in mind to kind of pivot from that fight or flight.
Yeah, I like that card a lot. I think it's pretty good into these top end decks, especially like the Auroras or the big units like we saw, because it lets you not actually have to fight these big units like the Mundo. They just kind of die on their own. And as we've been talking about this entire match, the Teemo doesn't have a ton of accelerate, and the Teemo has to somehow defend a point, right? How are we going to do that? What do you think his plan is?
I mean, the best way for an accelerate unit at this rune pace, or at this rune spot, is going to be something like a Watcher, but it never feels good because you're not getting the full use from the Watcher's ability, but it could get you a single point, but it just doesn't feel good with the current back line. It looks like he's reading my mind. No, it's even better, the Singularity coming down. You don't have something like a set ability to save the brawler like we've seen time and time again from the set players. So everything goes down, hits the trash so far, but now Teemo 4 runes available. If there's at least, I keep saying Sprite Mother because those are one of the few things that could try to conquer on that same turn. If he has it, of course, he's able to play it out, recycle 1 Mind Rune, get the Bando or the Zon. If not, I think MF is going to continue to develop the board, and she's currently at 6, so 2 more points, and this is interesting. Guerrilla Warfare, return 2 cards with hidden from your trash. So he thinks Flight or Flight was hidden. That's one of the cards. And the champion, of course, it would be the Teemo champion coming back into the hand. But I don't think you're going to be able to do too much else this turn, right?
Yeah, this does put you in a pretty rough spot, as you did not put anything on the board. And it does guarantee that Prismaticism does get if they do choose to, they can push up an MF and get up to 7 points. That being said, maybe you don't. The fight or flight is known. Maybe you don't want to commit to the board. We'll have to see what Prismaticism does make their game plan. Only 3 cards in hand, so somewhat similar situation to last game, where the Teemo is drowning in cards and Prismaticism is not. But as we also saw, maybe it doesn't matter.
Right. I was just about to say, it ended up favoring him at the end of the day anyway, so perhaps he doesn't feel too at a disadvantage in terms of that department. But 4 cards now with the draw for turn. Plenty of runes to work with now. I think this is just a perfect opportunity to go ahead and develop the board. You have a huge tempo lead, or a huge point tempo lead. So go ahead. Oh, of course, the sneaky deckhand that was looming in the hand the whole time, going up to 7 total points. Wait a second, ANA. Are we about to see a first mate gank over for game? Is that a possibility? Or is there a flight or flight? Okay, they're discussing reactions. Wait a second. I might have got a little ahead of myself.
Does this? No, that doesn't change anything, because you can just play the MF champion unit. Oh no, he only has 5 available runes. Okay, yeah, so that will in fact change things. Okay.
Unless it
Do you
was
just play it
indeed
again?
a first mate, but no, it's not a first mate. Just goes ahead and plays out a Kiana for now.
I mean, it's a lot of scary stuff. Because again, all he needs is is units to stick, and when the units stick, the game is over.
Yeah, I think so. Teemo trying to not let that happen. What can he do now? He has so many cards. We saw even in game 1, he should have the tools available. Goes for 4. You would imagine the cards are already in his hand, but searching for more answers, trying to see what he can do. At this point, just put anything onto the base. It's not going to feel good because Kiana has one. Sneaky Deckhand could conquer the other. So you need to defend. You need to defend right here. I believe it's over unless you have another Flight or Flight, another Gust, which I believe we've gone through 2. Actually, it might just been 1 in this game 2 so far.
Yeah, the Fight or Flight on its own isn't going to work because the MF Champion unit is available, which will be able to restand whatever you push back. But leaving 5 runes up, maybe 2 Fight or Flights.
Yeah, that could be all 3 because you can't gust a 4-mite unit like Kiana, so it has to rely on things like Flight or Flight. So thinking about it, you're going to have to pay the deflect cost, but at this point, you're trying to do anything to stay in the game because right now, Prismaticism is doing that final game push from 6 to 8 this very turn. What can Teemo do to not let that happen? He's surviving by the skin of his teeth. He's going to allow that conquer, goes up to 7. You said it, NA, there's the MF already on the champion zone, so you're able to ready that and gank over. Oh, and the core is a Sneaky Deckhand, so potentially going to be eating a Gust if he has it.
Yeah, now you need 2 Fight or Flights, and that still might not do it because now you can just play the MF Champion unit accelerated, and then that pushes up, and then that readies the Kiana. Yeah,
that's like 1000% GG. You just don't have enough runes for it. You could have the 3rd Flight or Flight, but what? And he did have the 3rd Flight or Flight, but the Kiana going in for the final game point. Well done, Prismat taking it down 2-0 in this best of 3 series.